Hey, what's up guys? In this video I want to talk about the things I've learned after self-publishing 3 books. Number 1, I'm a fool. I'm going to be my own worst critic here. I'm going to go through each of these 3 books that I self-published and tell you about the process and what I learned from it, what I would do differently next time, or would I do it again, because like I say, I'm a fool. Let's go. It all started with this little guy right here, Peter Penguin. This is a book I made in 2014, almost 10 years ago. So this was actually a story I made and a book I made on pen and paper for my daughter when she was little. And I had the big idea, hey, what if I turn this into a legit book? What if I could get published and make a career out of this? Crazy, right? It just might be crazy enough to work. Well, it didn't work. I emailed a bunch of agents. Nobody wanted this thing. This thing sucks. I'm gonna say that myself. This is awful. It has so many things wrong with it, but I didn't care. I was gonna put this book out. I was gonna make this book. I was gonna set an example, and I was gonna be successful. Darn it. So I went the self-publishing route. This is such a short story and is aimed at young children, so I wanted to make it a board book. You can see it's a thick board book, so my options were limited. I couldn't really do print on demand for a board book or something of this length. Now the reasonable thing to do would have been to make it longer, right? You elaborate on the story, but no, I was in a rush. This was perfect. This was what I wanted. So it was going to be this. So I found a publisher, not a publisher, a printer that would make board books. The thing was, I really needed to buy in bulk. So I ordered like 1,000 copies. They came on a pallet. A pallet, man. Can you imagine how many boxes of these books I still have laying around? It is not even funny. I'm using these books for paperweights and coasters and stuff, props at this point. I'm getting ahead of myself though. So yeah, I mean, looking at this book, cover looks okay, right? It could be better, but it is, oh no. I look inside of the artwork and it's so bad. It is beyond bad. It's like a kid drew this. It's not at all professional. Everything about this is just amateur. This does not belong anywhere in the world. I'm sorry. Peter Penguin lived in the Arctic. I wrote this whole thing where the penguins live in the Arctic. In real life, penguins don't live in the Arctic. They live in the Antarctic, among other places. Penguins do not live in the Arctic, and there's a big part of the story. All the other penguins are telling him that he belongs in the Arctic, and he's like, no, I'm going to travel the world. Charming story, right? But executed horribly. So yeah, I should have fact-checked it. I think even in my mind I was thinking of the Antarctic, but somehow I wrote the Arctic and it stayed that way. This page right here, there are a couple of areas where it's not even colored in where it's supposed to be. You can see between Peter's legs right here, it's supposed to be blue like the background. You see part of his flipper here is not colored when it's supposed to be. It's so bad, man. This whole thing is just awful, man. This is embarrassing to look at now. So embarrassing. I'm thinking about just burning the rest of these books. But some of the kids liked it. You know, I know some people out there liked it. There are a couple of typos in here, and really that is a big problem as well. I don't think that there should be any typos in this book. There are a couple of typos, like a punctuation error. I think it's just one punctuation error, but then the whole thing about the Arctic really bothers me. And the artwork is just so horrible. I didn't know what I was doing. That's the thing. First try, I didn't know what I was doing here. I just simply did it. I should have, what should I have done? What did I learn? Double check, triple check your manuscript. If you can get someone else to proofread it, I didn't ask anyone to proofread it. Part of my thing is too that I formatted my book wrong the first time, and I had to go back and redo it, and I think I had to redo parts of it multiple times. Somewhere along the line it ended up with more mistakes than it should have, and they got past me. But always, 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 before you send in that final draft, double check it, triple check it, fact check it, whatever you need to do. Make sure that you're going to be happy with it, because once it's done, it's done. It's out there, and you're going to be ashamed of yourself if you're like me and you have all these terrible mistakes. Overall, though, the quality of this book is just bad. What would I do differently? I would make it longer. I would go print on demand so I wouldn't have boxes of these things all over the house, reminding me of my failure. Knowing now I have the tools to make a better quality book, I wouldn't have been in a hurry. I would have just taken my time, made it longer, made better quality everything, but this was a long time ago. I did what I could with the limited tools that I had. I actually drew all this on paper. I scanned it to my computer, and then I think I tried to like clean it up and color it in MS Paint, and that is so embarrassing. Let's say I did okay in MS Paint, which I really didn't. It only saves in RGB format, and you need CMYK format for printing, so then I still had to go and learn some other software and convert it to CMYK. I didn't know what I was doing. This was an experiment, but I wish it hadn't cost like $2,000 out of my pocket to print 1,000 books, which I still have lying around the house. I get so mad at myself. Anyways, the other thing I learned is that making a book is easy. Selling a book is the hard part. People think, oh, it's so hard to write a book, make a book. No. It's easy. Anyone can do it. Writing or creating a good book is a different story, and selling it, even if you have a fantastic, mind-blowing book, selling it is something completely different. What did I do to sell those? Not enough, obviously, because I told you I have tons of them left over. But I did a few things that worked out okay. The first thing I did was go to local libraries and offer to donate a copy or a few copies to the library. Some libraries didn't want anything to do with it. One of them was actually quite nice. Not only did they take the book, but they also invited me to do an author event. So I did a little presentation, I read the book to the audience, I did a Q&A, this whole thing, and it was really nice. And at the end of it, I could sell copies to the attendees. So that was actually really cool. I can't believe that I actually did that. I can't believe I also went door to door. That was another thing. I went door to door throughout my neighborhood, knocking on doors with these books. I'm like, hey, I'm a local author. I live down the street. Yeah, I sold some. You get rejected a lot and you get tired. Your feet hurt because walking around all day, getting rejected, giving your sales pitch, it's exhausting, man. So exhausting. But I did that like a couple of times. I think my favorite thing to do was go to the flea market. Now, I don't live in a very good area, but there's a big flea market like an hour away from me, and once a month they would have a day that was free. So I went to the flea market a few times on that free day. It's chill. You just set up a table, brought a chair, and I just chilled all day. People bought some books from me and I offered to sign them and everything. So that was actually pretty chill, pretty fun, being out there at the flea market, being a vendor once in a while. Finally, the other thing I did was I went like a half hour from my town into like a touristy area, and I just stood on the street, in the busy street, it's like an outdoor strip mall, very busy area, lots of foot traffic, lots of families. I brought my backpack, I stood out there in this busy sort of hub. I just went up to people on the street and I'm like, hey, do you want to buy a book? You don't need a seller's permit or anything to sell books on the street. First Amendment, that's something I learned a while back, and that's pretty amazing. I saw this documentary about booksellers in New York who just set up tables and stuff and sell books on the sidewalk in New York City. They're protected. It's freedom of press. That's what it is. So you can sell books, you can sell print materials on the street with no sort of license or permit. Pretty cool. Again, though, it was kind of exhausting and it's very demoralizing when you're getting rejected all day and you're standing out here looking like a fool, feeling, self-conscious. But hey, I sold some books. So those were some things that sort of worked out. I tried putting it on eBay and Amazon and all this. There is an ebook format that's like 99 cents, and I've sold some of those actually. Somebody in another country reviewed it positively, so that made me feel really good and kind of validated that people aren't necessarily pitying me, or it's just my family who says they like the book, that kind of thing. So I'm amazed that anybody liked that book. It's terrible. Yeah, I didn't get any physical sales from eBay or Amazon. Just the occasional ebook. If I really wanted to go hard, yeah, I would reach out to more libraries and local organizations, maybe schools. Just do more networking. That's all it is, networking. I don't like talking to people. I'm a hermit. I keep to myself. But yeah, I guess that those are some things I would do. I'd also think about maybe reaching out to like some YouTube channels. Maybe if there's any YouTube channels that kind of specialize in reading children's books or something like that, and they have a following, maybe I'd send them a copy. Maybe I'd set up a website for myself or something and be like, hey, this is where people can buy it. Hey, can I give you this free book? And maybe if you like it, you can make a video, that kind of thing. Just thinking about different ways to network and market your material. This one I'm pretty much done with. I don't even want it out there. It's so bad and embarrassing. So my second book, this is called Escape Your Life Without Killing Yourself. A Simple Guide to Living Better. Oh man, this thing just makes me cringe already. First of all, the title, this is not what I wanted to call it, but every title I came up with was already taken. So I'm like, okay, this might be okay. This might be interesting, but it kind of sounds like a suicide prevention book or something. That's not what it is. It's just like a motivational book. Again, I didn't learn much because look, it's too short. This thing is 110 pages, but they're like tiny pages and it's double spaced, and the word count on this is very low. I was into a lot of kind of self-help books at the time. I still enjoy personal development. I remember reading this one book, I think it was Click Millionaires, where they were kind of like, you know what, you can be an expert on anything on the internet or whatever. You can be an authority on any topic you want if you read 3 books on that one topic. Because most people have not read any books on that topic. If you've read 3 books on one topic, you know more than most people about that topic. And I'm like, okay, I've read a whole bunch of self-help books and motivational stuff. I'm going to write my own motivational thing. Even though I'm kind of a big failure. I'm going to be the first to admit it. And I kind of admit it in this book too. I was trying to put a disclaimer like, hey, I'm not a really successful person, but you know, these are some things I've learned and I'm trying to do better, and maybe you can get inspired by this. That was my whole message, but still the imposter syndrome kicked in hard for me with this book. Even thinking about this, it just makes me cringe. I have not gone back and reread this thing. I'm afraid to. I'm frankly afraid to. Let's read the preface. Life sucks and then you die. Would you agree? Sadly, those words used to resonate with me at certain points in my life. It's hopelessly pessimistic, yet somehow we tend to take comfort in negativity, accepting things for just the way they are, even when they are far from what we desire. So, you know what the other things are? I think I wrote some things about people I knew that I shouldn't have written. It was nothing. One of them was very positive, but I just didn't have all the facts. And I should have asked the person first. I didn't give away their identity or anything like that, but I feel like if the person knew, if the person read this, and I think they might have, I think somebody read this and somebody knew who that person was. Again, it was a positive thing, but I may have been overstepping my boundaries. I may have crossed the line with what I said. So I regret that. There was another kind of less than positive thing I wrote about someone else, and I changed the identity. I changed the facts around to avoid, you know, giving away who they were or libel or anything like that. It's a person I respect, but it was like not the most positive thing I said. I feel like if that person were to read this, or if somebody who knew me like 15 years ago or 10 years ago read this, they would be able to know who I was talking about, and that still makes me feel bad to this day. Mostly though, it's just, I just wrote this because I wanted to write it, and I think it's cringy. I think I'm just embarrassed of it today, but what I'm happy about is that I went the print-on-demand route. Also, this cover is pretty bad too. That's so awful. I did use MS Paint on this for sure. I used some free clip art of this guy. He was like a walking man. I colored it red and I rotated it, and this just looks so bad. Anyways, I don't like the title, I don't like the cover, and I don't like the content either. And I feel like a big fake for writing a personal development book when my life is awful. I was just too young to be writing this, too young and too unsuccessful. But yeah, I'm glad I did print on demand, and I don't have stock lying around. Nope, this is my only copy. If I want another one, I can order one from Amazon. Anyone can, but thank goodness I don't have boxes of this thing lying around. But I should have made it longer. I should have researched more. I should have just made it more valuable for the reader instead of just trying to squeeze out a book that I could sell and feeling like a fraud. Told you I'm going to be my own worst critic here. Which brings me to my third and final book, For You, My Love. Now, this is another children's book, of course, and I learned something. I do think this is a lot better than my first book. This one's a funny story, because this is another book I made for my daughter when she was little. She's not little anymore. She's a teenager, and she was so embarrassed by this thing. She did not want this thing. She does not want anyone to know that this exists, and I haven't told anybody in our personal circles. This was another like pen and paper book I made for her when she was little. It got lost, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna remake it for you. Even though you don't want it, one day I'm gonna be dead and gone, and you can remember, at least you can remember how much I loved you. And maybe it's embarrassing now, maybe this is not a good book, but one day maybe you'll appreciate it, or at the very least you'll remember how much your dad loved you, and maybe you can, I don't know, maybe she'll have kids one day and read this to them, or maybe it'll just be thrown in the wastebasket. I definitely learned some things from my first children's book. First of all, I have better tools, better resources this time around. I think it's overall much more polished because I didn't draw this on paper. I didn't use MS Paint. I actually used an iPad with Procreate, so all of this was drawn digitally. This was after watching tons of lessons on YouTube on how to make Procreate and draw things and just practice. Still not perfect. It's far from perfect. There are things that bug me, kind of like this page here. It looks, the backgrounds, it's a coincidence, but the backgrounds look like they should kind of continue from one page to the next. They weren't supposed to, but it looks like they should, and that bothers me. As for typos, I don't think there are any typos because I went over this thing so many times. However, every other page says, for you, my love is or would do something, and I'm still unclear if I should have put a comma after for you, comma, my love, or if I'm okay. So now it's kind of bugging me, like, is there a typo now on every other page of the book? Overall, I'm okay with this though. The print quality is so-so. This is print on demand by Amazon, so there's a lot of color here, a lot of ink in here, and so sometimes there are little lines or things, little blurry bits, but it is what it is, you know. There's like a faint line running through this page. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, no, you're not gonna be able to see it here, but it's not perfect, you know. But overall, I'm much happier. The thing that bugs me though is I thought I had the fine, you know, normal amount of pages, but I'm still left with 2 blank pages at the end. I don't know why. I thought the page count was fine and optimal. No. So there's one thing, 2 empty pages at the back. What the heck? Overall though, I am pretty proud of this book, and it kind of makes me want to do more of these books. I haven't sold any. Once again, making the book is the easy part, and you learn as you go. I think you get better at what you do as you go, but selling it is the hard part, and I just haven't tried to market this thing. Again, I think if I wanted to market it, maybe I would do some of the same things. I would order a few copies to have on hand. I would go to libraries and stuff, try to set up some speaking events, bookstores. If you have local bookstores that do that kind of thing, that would be perfect. But I think I would really want to try and drive sales online, since this is print on demand. It's available on ebook or physical. So I think the things I would try if I want to go this route, I don't know. But again, I think I would reach out to like influencers, YouTubers, bloggers, or people who might review kids' books or show kids' books. Maybe send them a book and be like, hey, check this out. You know, if you like this, maybe you can make a video or a post or something on it. It's free to you, and you can use your affiliate link if anyone buys my book or something. You know, just reach out to people and network. That's the bottom line, and that's the thing I never do. And so I never do well with selling my books. Yeah, this has just been on the back burner ever since I made it. I think it was more of a personal project than, hey, we're gonna make a bunch of money doing this. But it was definitely a learning experience. It was a good exercise, and my daughter has this thing that I told her I was gonna make for her, whether she wants it or not. Maybe one day she'll appreciate it. Or not. I hope so. Anyway, so those are some of the things I learned from self-publishing 3 books. Making the book is the easy part. Marketing and selling the book is the hard part. You gotta be creative, you gotta be dedicated. Double, triple check your work. always, 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 always make sure that final draft is just the way you want it to be. And be prepared to be embarrassed of your work years later. It's a sign of growth. If you can look back at something you made a long time ago and be like, "Ew, what the heck was I thinking?" That means you're a different person now. You have refined eyes and skills and senses, and you're able to make something better today than you were back then. So just know it's gonna happen. For me, it's really hard to accept the quality of my old work because I know I could have done so much better, but honestly, maybe I couldn't have done so much better back then. Maybe making those mistakes has put me in a place where I can see that and where I can do better today. Having that experience, now I know every time you do something new, you're gonna make a mistake, you're gonna learn from it, keep on doing it again and again and again, and you're only gonna get better results. I think that's the big thing. Print on demand for the win. Definitely go print on demand. Do whatever you have to do to make your book print on demand eligible. That's what I have to say. That's big takeaway number 3 or whatever. I've forgotten. But anyways, that's that. Anybody can make a book. If you want to, go for it. Go do it. And I would love to hear your stories too. If you have self-published anything in the past, maybe you have some strategies or tips you want to share with people too in terms of marketing or I don't know, process overall. If you want any more videos on self-publishing, let me know. Thank you so much for your time today. You take care. I will see you soon.